welcome to the Thornbird Bear Yarns podcast. This is episode 1, and it is Saturday, March 4th, 2017. I'm coming to you from my dyeing studio here in southern Indiana on the Ohio River. So I thought I'd start by doing an introduction since this is a new podcast. And my name is Joni. I have 3 kids. I'm not married. I do have a boyfriend, though, who's awesome. And I have been knitting since my second oldest was born. So it's been about 6 years. So I love knitting. I particularly really love sock knitting, but I do all kinds of knitting. When I first started knitting, I was a primarily toy knitter, but I have graduated into really loving socks, and now really loving, just pretty much anything knit-wise. I do crochet a little bit. From time to time, I do know how to crochet, and I do like to crochet. You'll see one of my crochet projects on this episode, actually. So I do some crochet, and I do love to spin my own yarn as well. I have a Hansen mini spinner that I've had for a couple years, and I love it. I don't spin on it as much as I would like to, but I do enjoy it when I get around to it. So that is my spinning. I also dye yarn. Now I've been dyeing yarn with professional dyes and yarns for a couple years, but I've only dyed for myself. And not everybody, but several people have said to me, "Why don't you dye and sell your yarns?" And so recently I've picked that up. So I am opening my yarn shop on Etsy, Thornbird Bear Yarns, and my first update will be March 10th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's this coming Friday. And at the end of the podcast, I will show some of the yarns that will be in the shop. On one of the bases I'm carrying. And after this podcast is over, I'm going to be dyeing my BFL base with the same colorways. So I will show those to you. That's all I think as far as introductions go. So, first things first, I'm going to talk about my finished objects for this past week. I told you I am primarily a sock knitter, so I do have a pair of finished socks. They're these lovely socks right here. It's really bright this morning, so it's like kind of blowing it out, but you can see those. This yarn is, let's see here, Wisdom Yarns in the Saki Bamboo base, and the colorway is called Crayon Box. And I bought this yarn when we were in Nashville, Indiana, camping. My boyfriend and I like to camp, and I really love the colors and the self-stripingness. You can't even see it right. Let's go right here. There. And this pattern is the Artist Socks pattern. I could not find it on Ravelry. You can see there's some slip stitches that get cabled. But, so I can't link to it. But if you ever are in Nashville, Indiana, I got it at the Clay Pearl, I believe is the store. When I bought this yarn, she gave me the pattern, and so I decided I would do that pattern on these socks, and it was a really simple pattern. I just did it on the first needle in the front of the sock. I didn't do it on the foot, and I really enjoyed it. I used to be primarily a vanilla sock pattern, but within probably the last year or so, I've started picking up more patterned socks or lacy socks, textured socks, and I'm enjoying them. I'm surprised because it used to be where I could not knit anything other than a vanilla sock. I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't get through it. But now I've knit probably 5 or 6 pairs of textured or lacy socks and haven't had any problems. So I did knit these 2 at a time on size 1 2.25 millimeter ChowGoo 40-inch cabled needles. Those are my go-to sock needles is ChowGoo. They're my go-to needles for everything. I love them. I love how pointy the tip is. I like the cord. I like a thicker, it's not thicker, it's just not as pliable of a cord. And I've tried every needle. I've knit with every needle. I have signature needles, but ChowGoo is my favorite. For my socks, I tend to do a pretty much the same thing every time. And that is where I knit 20 rows for my ribbing. And then I do 70 rows for my leg. And I do, for these socks, when I do 2 at a time socks, I do the fish lips kiss heel. Or otherwise I do like a heel flap and gusset if I'm doing them 1 at a time. And then for my foot, I knit 65 or 70 rounds, I think 70. And then I do a 5-pointed decrease toe. So I don't like the Kitchener. It just makes a little rounded toe. So that is what I do for my socks. And like I said, I pretty much do that every time. I always make sure I have 20 rounds of ribbing and about a 70 round leg, even if it's a patterned sock. So I enjoyed those. This year, since about like January, I have really been getting into knitting 2 at a time socks. And I've done them in the past. I was doing them where I started them together on 1 needle, both socks at the same time. And what really changed it for me was I watched Mina Phillips of the Knitting Expat podcast. I watched her tutorial on 2 at a time socks, and she starts each sock individually and knits the ribbing before she joins them together, and that has changed it for me. It's really made it a lot easier. I enjoy doing it a lot more, and now I can crank out a pair of socks if I'm going at them consistently in about a week. If I do them separately and I'm doing about the same amount of productivity on my socks, it would take me 2 weeks. So it's bumped up my sock production, and I'm enjoying it. So that's my only FO for the week. I do have 2 whips. And the first one I'm going to show you is crochet. And just like pretty much everybody else, I am making a crocheted sock blanket with my scrap yarns, and I love it. I love it. I love doing it. I love making it. I will bring it on the podcast once I'm working on it more consistently, but I love it. And so one of my goals in the next couple years is to have at least 1 handmade blanket that each of my kids can, and myself and my boyfriend can snuggle up with whenever we are watching TV on the couch or just relaxing. And so I thought, I'm gonna start another blanket and start working on that dream of having a blanket for everybody. So this one is made with some rainbow colored yarns. The yarn is, I'll show you this game. It's called Big Twist. Can you see that? Oops, blow it out. Big Twist, and it's 100% acrylic, and they're Rainbow Classics. I got it at Joann's. And let's see here. The colorway is Fun Brights. So, sorry it's getting so blown out. But it's just a really variegated rainbow colored skein. So I think I'm going to, and I'm using a J hook. 6.0 millimeter. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet this blanket as long as I want to crochet it. And then for the border, since it's all rainbow colored, I'm going to do some white yarn. And so it'll be like a rainbow with clouds around the outside. I'm going to do some kind of scalloped edging. So that is that. And then I also am working on another pair of socks. So I am in, well, I'm not in, I'm doing the Desert Vista Dye Works sock yarn challenge. It's where you knit a pair of Desert Vista Dye Works socks in only Desert Vista Dye Works yarn for every month of the year. And every so often, like every 3 months or every 6 months, 9, 12 months, there is some kind of prize. So I decided I wanted to do that this year. And so that is what when I went to go pick these socks out, I knew I wanted to do Desert Vista Dye Works yarn. And then I'm also in Mina Phillips' New York Collection Sock Pattern Club. And so I thought I can do both at the same time. So I picked out a skein of my Desert Vista Dye Works sock yarn. And it's it's a gradient. This is just one of the cakes. I have 2 cakes. It's a gradient yarn in the Mrs. Dracula colorway. And I'm doing these 2 at a time. And I'm doing the Mina's Central Park Socks pattern at the same time with this yarn. And these are on size 1s, Chow Goose 2.25 millimeters. And here is my little progress keeper, if you can see it. It's getting, oh, the sun's blowing it out. It's a little slice of rainbow cake, which I'm loving it. I wish you could see it better. And I do have the shop's information. It's Chapel View Crafts, and she's on Etsy. And again, if it could not blow it out. And I am really, really loving that. There you go. You can kind of see it there. And so these socks, I'm working on them a little bit at a time. And so far, so good. So I'm going to have these done. I usually get my socks done pretty easily. Even when I knit them one at a time, I really don't have second sock syndrome. I'm pretty good about casting it on. I also don't have any sock whips on my needles unless I am knitting them. There was about 1.5 years ago, I cast on for my birthday about 6 or 7 pairs of socks all at one time. And I thought, oh, I'm going to love this. I can just pick them up and knit on them a little bit at a time. And I did like it. It wasn't something I didn't enjoy. But by the time I got down to about 2 pairs left that weren't complete, it was starting to bother me a little bit. So I tried to primarily cast on 1 at a time, maybe 2. Probably in the future there will be 2 socks at a time going. And I'm keeping these in my Silver Shed bag. I love her bags. I just ordered some more. But it's being kept in that bag, and I love, they're padded, which I really love. It stands up really well, and it has a nice handle and a nice zipper that doesn't get caught. So I really enjoy those. So those are my works in progress. Last but not least, well, not last because I got to talk about shop updates, but I do want to show you my spinning. I haven't spun very much to get to this point. I probably only spun about an hour, but this is some BFL from Fragilous Fibers that I got when I was in Nashville camping, when I got that sock yarn. And It is in the Cathedral colorway. Just let me show you how gorgeous. You can see that really well. Gorgeous colors. Lots of jewel tones. I'm really enjoying so far spinning it. And I am fractal, I believe it's called fractal plying or fractal spinning, where this section for the second bobbin is just one long continuous part of the braid. But for the first bobbin, this one, I have taken that long continuous second half of the braid and divided it into 4 parts. So I spun one of the parts to get this sock yarn, or not sock yarn, this yarn. So I'm really enjoying that, and here's how it's looking on the bobbin so far. So we'll see how I do getting that done. So that's what I have for spinning. So now we're at the part where I'm going to talk about shop updates. If you're not interested, completely understand. Thank you very much if you are tuning out for checking out my first episode, and I hope you'll come back. Okay, so on to shop news. Now, right now I still have the ribbons I use to tie the skeins up with on them because they're still a little wet, so when I'm done podcasting, I'm going to hang them up a little bit more to dry. But I thought I'd show you the colorways that I'm going to be having in the shop. And the first one, this is my favorite. In fact, I'm probably going to end up taking a skein, but it is called Flora. See if I can get it there. It's got like these beautiful pinks and purples and blues and lilacs, and then an olive green. It's so pretty. And this is on my merino 4-ply sock base, which is merino nylon. I believe it is 80/20. So gorgeous. This is Flora. And then I have on the horizon, see if I can pull it back here. You can get a better, it's blowing out the color so much, which is a shame. But it's got some grays and some blues. Maybe if I scoot back a little bit. It's got some grays and some blues and this pop of copper. So pretty. And then I have Sea Treasure. And it's got some reds and some blues and some grays and some like some olive green again in this. Okay. And then this one is Inflatable Donut. Maybe you can see this one a little bit better if I pull it back. Inflatable Donut. Inflatable Donut has some teal green, some emerald green, some reds, some fuchsias, some blues. It's a really fun color. And then this is Beach Vacation. I gotta fix it here. And this is a lot of different colors of blues. There's some teal, some baby blue, some bright blues, some emerald. So pretty. Again, I gotta pull it back here so I don't blow it out. So those are the 5 colorways I will have in the shop, and I'll have that on my merino 4-ply sock base and then also my BFL high twist base. So those will be in the shop. Again, it's going to be on Friday. I'm sorry about the dog barking. Friday, March 10th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you'd like to follow me, I didn't mention this earlier in the podcast, but I am on Instagram. I'm under Thorn Bird Bear Yarns. And I'm on Etsy. My shop is Thorn Bird Bear Yarns. And then I am also on Facebook under Thorn Bird Bear Yarns. And you can always email me at thornbirdbearyarns@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next episode, which will be in 2 weeks. Thank you. Bye-bye.